everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I am here to review Boy Kills World. Now, Boy Kills World is the new Bill Skarsgård action movie. Boy Kills World is a simple story. It's a simple, very straightforward story about a character who is simply called Boy. Now, I can't really get... Now I say it's simple, but there is a twist near the tail end of the movie that does kind of like, it is very spoilery, so I won't spoil what happens because it is a great twist and it will catch you completely off guard. At least caught me completely off guard. I had no clue. Me and Seth saw this movie together. We had no clue this was gonna happen. Now, Boy Kills World takes place in this city, this kind of dystopian city. They mention over and over again that a war, like there's not a lot of details on why the city is like this. All we know is a war happened. The city was taken over by this family called the Van Der Koys. The Van Der Koys are kind of this dictatorship family that runs the city with an iron fist, and every year they host this execution, this culling, where they gather up all the people who are against him. They gather up all the people who, from politicians to people who want to, anyone who they deem against them. They gather them up and execute them in the middle of town square in front of everyone. And that's the culling. That's what they do. So, eventually, but unfortunately, the main protagonist, Boy, played by Bill Skarsgård, his family was killed and he managed to survive. And as a young boy, in order to get vengeance, he would then go and train with this monk in the middle of the forest. Not a monk, this older, like extreme martial artist, kind of Kill Bill style, in the middle of the forest for years, preparing himself to be the ultimate killing machine so he can exact his vengeance on the death of his family and overthrow this evil dictatorship. And what ensues is mostly top-notch action. Now, this movie, I will tell you, it is not as good as I thought it would be. It's still a fun time, but it is not as good as I thought it would be. So I'm going to talk about the positives first. First of all, the action is top-notch. When it's hitting, it is hitting. There's particularly a sequence near the end of the movie, that takes place on a stage with a bunch of fucking people in costumes and shit. That was both trippy and badass all at the same time. It's a gory fucking movie. It gets bloody, man. It gets really bloody. It gets really bad. It is a wacky movie, and the action has a comedy to it. It has a very fun, almost it's like a Jackie Chan on cocaine type of fun to the action sequences. For example, in the first action sequence you see in the beginning of the entire movie, he fights this one dude who is just high on these drugs, and he's so high on these drugs that no matter how badly he fucks this dude up or dismembers him, the dude just keeps on coming at him. And it's like, they're just like, what the fuck's up with this dude? What the fuck is this dude on? So, that's the kind of funny bits you get with the action that go along with it. Also, interesting note is, Boy doesn't talk. He is mute and deaf. So you get you get this back commentary. I don't know the actor who voices Bob on Bob's Burger or Archer on the show Archer, but that guy does a voiceover of Boy's thoughts. He kind of gives voice to his thoughts. So there is a bit of a anime vibe to the movie. Well, there's a bit of anime vibe to the movie in general, with the colors and the wackiness and the outfits and the way, in some of the action sequences, there is a bit of an anime vibe. But honestly, if this was all done as an anime, it wouldn't look too out of place. And with the voiceover too, it brought something unique. It brought something unique. When the jokes hit, they're hilarious. For instance, there's this joke where where Boy can't hear, and so when he can't hear, and he can't talk. So whenever someone's talking, he's just reading lips. He doesn't know he knows a little sign language, but nobody else knows sign language, or at least he doesn't come across people who know sign language. So he has to fucking read lips. But when people speak in other languages, he can't. But he can only read he can only understand the language English. reading people's lips. He can't understand another language. So when people talk in other languages, he can't understand what the fuck they're saying. So he gets with these group of guys, these groups of rebels, and they're planning a whole plan to infiltrate and all this shit. He has no clue what the fuck the plan is. He just goes, fuck it, and just goes along with it. It turns out the plan was for him to dress up like a chef. And of course, he's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do as a chef? So, like, he doesn't know what to do. So he grabs a cheese grater, and he's just walking up the step, just grinding cheese on this thing, just on the ground. It's just like, there's shit like that. That's hilarious. And, like, there's also some running jokes that are hilarious. Like, once again, the guy who can't speak English, so he's just hearing this random shit from this dude. He's just like, I have no clue what this guy's saying. I'm trying to read his lips, but he's speaking in another language, and I have no clue what he's saying. Also, he keeps seeing his dead sister. Now, it's clearly in his head, obviously, but his dead sister kind of serves as his consciousness. That's what I say, like, this show is it's a very animated movie. There's a lot, like, for a movie that's premise is pretty straightforward, there's, like, so many other things attached to it to make it a little bit more wacky and to make it a little bit more unpredictable. But the problem I have with the movie, and it's the problem me and Seth both have with the movie, is this is a 2-hour movie. It's a 2-hour movie. It's a 2-hour movie for a 1 hour and 30-minute premise. Like, that's the problem. It's a 2-hour movie for a 1 hour and 30-minute premise because they spend a lot of time trying to, like, because they don't go into the world, like, they don't go into the nitty-gritty details, but they spend a lot of time trying to build, like, really play up the whole, what is he becoming? Are you becoming this monster? Or like, you didn't used to want to kill when you were younger. And also on these side characters kind of going into the because they showing the dynamics between the Van Der Koy family, them really trying to get into that and show that they don't all agree. In fact, most of them are kind of over this shit. Most of the Van Der Koy family, except for one, pretty much don't want to really do this shit anymore. At least the men in the Van Der Koy family are kind of over this shit. So, like, them, like, really, like, taking the time to really focus on them, that stuff was kind of boring. When they would focus on the other side characters, that stuff was kind of boring. Every time the movie wasn't about Boy, you know, the main protagonist, and him, it was just stuff slowing the movie to a halt. And that was kind of a problem with the movie for me. I still enjoyed the hell out of it, but every time, I'd say there's at least 25 to 27 minutes that is dedicated to the Van Der Koys, like, you know, disputes and how they feel about each other and some of the side characters. And honestly, it could have been shaved down. I didn't need to know all this. This could have been a very straightforward, simple action movie, simple revenge story. Honestly, while I like the whole thing with Boy being conflicted, and honestly, it does make sense by the time the twist happens. You're like, okay, I get why he feels the way he feels. I get why they had to make it the way they made it. But they probably could have shaved that down too. On it, like, this movie is about 20 minutes, 20 maybe even 30 minutes too longer than it should be. Like, I didn't need to know about the Van Der Koy. All I needed is a brief little, this is what this Van Der Koy member is, this is how this Van Der Koy member is, this is why Boy wants to kill them. But instead, they tried to do something, they tried to be more than what they were. You know, they tried to, like, add some nuance to a movie that didn't need it. And that sounds bad, but this movie should have just been a little bit more straightforward. And they tried to add some nuance and stuff. Now, while the twist worked, the final, one of the most bloody, badass, over-the-top final battles in any movie I've seen, while all that worked, there's just these bits in this movie where the movie just grinds to a fucking halt. And it is jarring. Because you're thinking this movie is going to be like Crank or something, just full speed ahead. And the beginning of the movie is pretty slow, but you kind of accept that. I've accepted those kind of things, but it keeps going and then stopping, full stop. Like, not even like kind of stopping, like full fucking hit the brake stop. And then it keeps going and full hits the brake stop. In the end, a movie that I thought I was going to adore, a movie I thought I was going to be like, oh man, this is like The Raid, this is going to be on the level of The Raid, ends up just being a 7 out of a 10 movie. Still a fun movie, still a good action movie, especially if you're an action fan like me. There's still something to get out of this movie. But some of the slower bits, really grinded the movie to a halt. And it was jarring, and it was in conflict with what they were trying to do. Although, I love the twist, I love the final fight sequence, I loved every fight sequence in the movie, particularly the last one. But man, the movie, like, there's just bits in this movie. This movie's about 20 minutes too long. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Movie Show. Please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.